Understanding Interconnectedness, the wisdom of the Avatamsaka Sutra for modern hearts. Hello everyone, and welcome to this journey through one of Buddhism's most profound teachings. Today we're going to explore the beautiful world of the Avatamsaka Sutra, also known as the Flower Garland Sutra. This ancient text holds wisdom that can transform how we see ourselves and our place in this interconnected world. If you've ever felt alone, overwhelmed, or disconnected, the teachings we'll share today might just change everything for you. The Avatamsaka Sutra is often called the most magnificent and comprehensive of all Buddhist scriptures. It presents a vision of reality that is both breathtakingly beautiful and deeply comforting. At its heart lies a simple yet revolutionary truth that everything in existence is intimately connected to everything else. Nothing exists in isolation. Nothing stands alone. And this includes you. In our modern world, where loneliness has become an epidemic and many people feel disconnected despite being more technologically connected than ever before, these ancient teachings offer profound comfort and wisdom. They remind us that the feeling of separation is an illusion, that we are all part of an intricate web of existence where every thread matters, every connection counts, and every being has infinite worth. Let's begin this exploration together, opening our hearts to wisdom that has brought peace and understanding to countless people across the centuries. Everything is connected. This fundamental teaching of the Avatamsaka Sutra, known as Pratityasamutpada, or dependent origination, tells us that nothing in this universe exists independently. Every phenomenon, every event, every thought, and every feeling arises in dependence upon countless other conditions and causes. This isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a lived reality that we can observe in every moment of our daily lives. When you drink a cup of tea in the morning, you're participating in an incredible web of interconnectedness. The water came from clouds that formed over distant oceans. The tea leaves grew in soil nourished by countless generations of decomposed organic matter. The cup was made by hands you'll never meet, transported by people whose names you'll never know. And the very ability to taste and enjoy this tea depends on your body, which is sustained by air, water, food, and the care of countless beings throughout your life. This simple act of drinking tea reveals the profound truth that the Buddha taught in the Avatamsaka Sutra. Nothing exists by itself. Everything is what it is only because of its relationship to everything else. You are not an isolated individual struggling alone in an indifferent universe. You are an integral part of an infinite network of being, supported and sustaining, connected and connecting at every moment. The great philosopher Thich Nhat Hanh, drawing from this Avatamsaka wisdom, created the term interbeing to describe this reality. He would say that when you look at a sheet of paper, you can see the cloud, because without the cloud there would be no rain, and without rain, no trees, and without trees, no paper. The cloud is not separate from the paper, it interies with it. In the same way, you inter-are with everything around you. Western philosophy has also recognized this interconnectedness, though often approaching it from different angles. The German philosopher Martin Heidegger spoke of being in the world, emphasizing that human existence is fundamentally relational. We don't exist as isolated subjects looking out at an external world, but as beings whose very nature is to be connected, engaged, and involved with our surroundings. The process philosopher Alfred North Whitehead saw reality as composed of events and relationships. rather than separate objects. His philosophy of organism recognized that everything in nature is interconnected and that each entity is what it is because of its relationships with other entities. This remarkably parallels the Avatamsaka teaching of universal interconnectedness. Modern systems theory and ecology have provided scientific validation for what the Avatamsaka Sutra taught centuries ago. Ecologists understand that ecosystems are networks of relationships where every species depends on others for survival. Change one element, and the effects ripple throughout the entire system. Theoretical physicist David Bohm proposed that the universe is an undivided wholeness in flowing movement, where everything is connected to everything else in what he called the implicate order. But what does this mean for you personally, especially when you're feeling lonely, isolated, or struggling with life's challenges? The teaching of interconnectedness offers profound comfort and hope. First, it reminds you that your feelings of separation are based on a misunderstanding of reality. You are never truly alone because you are always connected to the web of life that surrounds and supports you. Every breath you take connects you to the trees that produce oxygen, to the atmosphere that sustains all life, to every other being that shares this same air. Every meal you eat connects you to the soil, the rain, the farmers, the countless hands that brought this nourishment to you. Every thought you think has been influenced by the words you've read, the conversations you've had, the experiences you've shared with others throughout your life. When you're going through difficult times, remember that your pain is held by this web of connection. Your struggles are not yours alone to bear. Just as your joy ripples outward and touches others, your difficulties are cushioned and supported by the infinite network of relationships that sustain all life. You don't have to carry everything by yourself because you are part of something much larger and more loving than you can imagine. This understanding can also transform how you see your impact on the world. Sometimes people feel that their lives don't matter, that they're too small to make a difference. But the teaching of interconnectedness reveals that every action, every kindness, every moment of compassion sends ripples throughout the entire web of existence. When you smile at a stranger, when you listen with compassion to a friend, when you treat yourself with kindness, these actions affect not just the immediate recipients, but spread outward in ways you may never fully know. The Avatamsaka Sutra presents us with a beautiful and mysterious image known as Indra's net. This metaphor describes reality as an infinite network of jewels, each one reflecting all the others. Imagine a vast net stretching in all directions, and at every intersection where the threads meet, there hangs a brilliant jewel. Each jewel is perfectly clear and reflects every other jewel in the net. Not only that, but each jewel reflects the reflections in all the other jewels, creating an infinite cascade of interconnected images. This is how the Avatamsaka Sutra describes the nature of reality. Every being, every phenomenon, every moment of experience is like one of these jewels, containing within itself the reflection of everything else that exists. You are not just connected to everything else, you actually contain aspects of everything else within your very being, just as everything else contains aspects of you. When you look deeply into any single thing, you can see the whole universe reflected there. In a single flower, you can see the soil, the rain, the sunshine, the gardener's care, the entire chain of relationships that brought this flower into being. In your own face in the mirror, you can see your parents, your ancestors, the food you've eaten, the air you've breathed, the love you've received, the struggles you've overcome, the entire universe that has conspired to bring you to this moment. This isn't just poetic language. It's a profound description of how reality actually works. Modern science has discovered that the atoms in your body were forged in the nuclear furnaces of ancient stars. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all were created in stellar explosions billions of years ago. You are literally made of stardust, carrying the cosmos within your very cells. The philosopher Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of this Indrasnet quality in simple, beautiful ways. He would say that when you look at a flower, you can see the non-flower elements within it. You can see the sunshine that nourished it, the soil that fed it, the rain that watered it, the gardener who tended it. The flower is made entirely of non-flower elements, and in the same way, you are made entirely of non-you elements. You are a unique and beautiful point where the entire universe comes together in a way that has never happened before and will never happen again. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the American transcendentalist, captured something similar when he wrote about the transparent eyeball in nature, where I am part or particle of God, and where the currents of universal being circulate through me. He intuited this same truth, that the boundaries between self and world, between individual and universe, are much more fluid and permeable than we usually imagine. The contemporary physicist and philosopher Fritjof Capra has written extensively about how quantum physics reveals an interconnected reality that mirrors the vision of Indra's net. In quantum mechanics, particles that have interacted once remain connected regardless of the distance between them, a phenomenon Einstein called, quote, spooky action at a distance. When you measure one particle, it instantly affects its paired particle, no matter how far apart they are. This suggests that at the deepest level of reality, separation is indeed an illusion. But perhaps most importantly, what does this vision of Indra's net mean for your relationships with other people? It means that when you interact with someone, you're not just encountering a separate individual. You're meeting another jewel in the net that reflects your own being and the being of everything else. Every person you meet is a mirror, showing you aspects of yourself, aspects of life, aspects of the human condition that you might not have seen otherwise. This can transform how you approach difficult relationships. When someone is being challenging or hurtful, the wisdom of Indra's net suggests that they too are reflecting something. Perhaps their own pain, their own struggles, their own attempts to find love and acceptance. This doesn't mean you should accept harmful behavior, but it can help you respond with greater compassion and understanding. It also means that when you heal something within yourself, when you grow in wisdom or compassion, that healing radiates outward through the net, affecting everyone you encounter. Your personal growth is never just personal. When you become more peaceful, more loving, more understanding, you're contributing to the peace, love, and understanding of the entire web of existence. Sometimes people worry that this vision of interconnectedness might diminish their individuality, make them feel lost in an impersonal cosmic web. But actually, the opposite is true. Indra's net shows us that your unique perspective your particular way of reflecting the universe, is absolutely irreplaceable. No other jewel in the net reflects reality exactly the way you do. Your individual experience, your unique combination of thoughts, feelings, memories, and dreams adds something to the universe that nothing else can add. You matter not despite your connection to everything else, but because of it. You are both utterly unique and completely universal, both absolutely individual and totally interconnected. This is the beautiful paradox that Indra's net reveals, and it's a truth that can bring deep comfort when you're struggling with questions of meaning and purpose. The Avatamsaka Sutra presents us with one of Buddhism's most profound and elegant teachings, known as Yi Ji Da, Da Ji Yi, which means one is many, many is one. This teaching reveals that individual and universal, particular and total, are not opposites, but are actually two aspects of the same reality. In every single thing, the entire universe is present, and the entire universe expresses itself through every single thing. This might sound abstract, but it has deeply practical implications for how we understand ourselves and our place in the world. Consider a single wave on the ocean. Is the wave separate from the ocean? Obviously not. The wave is made entirely of ocean water, it arises from the ocean, and it will return to the ocean. Yet each wave has its own unique shape, its own movement, its own temporary form. The wave is both completely individual and completely oceanic at the same time. In the same way, you are like a unique wave in the ocean of existence. You have your own shape, your own movement, your own beautiful form, but you are made entirely of the same substance as everything else in the universe. You are completely individual and completely universal at the same time. You are utterly unique, and you are absolutely connected to the totality of existence. This teaching can bring tremendous relief to people who struggle with feelings of insignificance. Sometimes in our vast universe, with its billions of galaxies and countless stars, we can feel like tiny, meaningless specks. But the wisdom of one is many, many is one reveals that size has nothing to do with significance. Even the smallest particle contains infinite relationships, infinite connections, infinite meaning. The 13th century Japanese Zen master Dogen expressed this beautifully when he wrote about a single particle of dust containing infinite Buddha realms, and infinite Buddha realms being contained within a single particle of dust. He wasn't speaking metaphorically, but pointing to the actual nature of reality, where vast and tiny, infinite and particular, universal and individual are revealed to be false distinctions. Western philosophy has grappled with similar insights. The German philosopher Gottfried Leibniz proposed that reality consists of infinite monads, each one reflecting the entire universe from its unique perspective. Each monad contains within itself a complete picture of everything that exists, yet each monad's perspective is absolutely unique and irreplaceable. The French philosopher Henri Bergson wrote about how each moment of consciousness contains within itself the entire past and the seeds of the entire future. When you remember something, you're not accessing a stored file, but recreating the entire context of memory within the present moment. Every moment of your experience contains infinite depth, infinite richness, infinite connection to the totality of life. Contemporary fractal mathematics has given us beautiful visual representations of how one is many, many is one. In a fractal pattern, every small section contains the same pattern as the whole. Zoom into any part of the Mandelbrot set and you'll find smaller versions of the entire set. This self-similarity at every scale mirrors what the Avatamsaka Sutra teaches about the relationship between individual and universal. Holographic theory in physics suggests something similar. In a hologram, every piece contains the information of the whole. Cut a holographic image in half, and each half still contains the complete image, though perhaps with less resolution. This has led some physicists to propose that the universe itself might be holographic in nature, with every part containing information about the whole. But what does this mean for your daily life and personal struggles? Understanding that one is many, many is one, can profoundly shift how you see your individual problems and challenges. When you're going through a difficult time, it's natural to feel isolated in your pain, to think that no one else understands what you're experiencing. But this teaching reminds us that your individual struggle contains within it the universal human experience of struggle. Your particular sadness contains the sadness of all beings who have ever felt loss. Your specific anxiety holds within it the anxiety that all conscious beings experience when facing uncertainty. Your unique joy carries within it the joy of every being who has ever felt love, gratitude, or wonder. You are never alone in what you're feeling, because your individual experience is always simultaneously universal. This doesn't diminish the reality or importance of your personal experience. Your particular way of feeling sadness, your specific triggers for anxiety, your unique sources of joy, these are absolutely real and absolutely important. But recognizing the universal dimensions of your individual experience can help you feel less isolated and more connected to the broader human community. It can also help you approach your personal growth and healing with greater patience and compassion. When you work on healing your own patterns of fear or anger or self-criticism, you're not just helping yourself, you're contributing to the healing of these patterns in the collective human consciousness. Your individual growth ripples outward, affecting the whole in ways you may never fully understand. The meeting point between the Avatamsaka teaching of dependent origination and the Prajnaparamita teaching of emptiness represents one of the most profound insights in all of Buddhist philosophy. These two teachings, rather than contradicting each other, actually reveal two aspects of the same fundamental truth about the nature of reality. Dependent origination tells us that everything arises in dependence upon causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently, everything is interconnected, and all phenomena emerge from the intricate web of relationships that we've been exploring. Emptiness, or sunyata, tells us that because everything arises dependently, nothing has inherent independent existence. Things exist, but not in the solid, separate, permanent way that we usually imagine. This might sound like a merely intellectual distinction, but it has profound implications for how we experience life and how we relate to our problems and attachments. When we truly understand both dependent origination and emptiness, we begin to see that while everything is real and meaningful, nothing is as solid or permanent or separate as it appears. Your thoughts and emotions, for example, are real experiences that arise from countless causes and conditions. Your current mood might depend on how much sleep you got, what you ate for breakfast, a conversation you had yesterday, a memory that surfaced unexpectedly, the weather, your hormonal cycles, and countless other factors. Because your mood arises dependently like this, it doesn't have any fixed inherent nature. It's real, but it's also fluid, changeable, and empty of independent existence. This understanding can be incredibly liberating when you're caught in difficult emotional states. Instead of thinking, I am an anxious person or I am depressed, you can begin to see anxiety or depression as temporary conditions that have arisen from various causes and will change as those causes change. You don't have to identify completely with these states or assume they define who you are, essentially. The ancient Indian philosopher Nagarjuna, who was deeply influenced by both Avatamsaka and Prajnaparamita teachings, expressed this paradox beautifully when he said that it is precisely because things are empty of inherent existence that they can function interdependently. If things had fixed, unchanging essences, they couldn't respond to conditions, couldn't grow, couldn't heal, couldn't transform. Western philosophy has approached similar insights through different paths. The existentialist philosophers emphasized that human beings don't have fixed essences, but create themselves through their choices and actions. Jean-Paul Sartre's famous statement that existence precedes essence points to a similar understanding that we are not predetermined entities, but are constantly becoming through our relationships and decisions. The process philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead also emphasized that reality consists of events and relationships rather than fixed substances. What we usually think of as objects are actually patterns of events, constantly becoming and perishing in relationship with their environments. Contemporary cognitive science has provided fascinating insights that parallel these ancient teachings. Research on neuroplasticity shows that the brain is constantly rewiring itself based on experience. What we think of as fixed personality traits or emotional patterns are actually neural pathways that can be changed through conscious practice and new experiences. Studies on the self have shown that what we usually think of as a unified, continuous self is actually more like a collection of processes, memories, and narratives that give us a sense of continuity but are actually quite fluid and changeable. This doesn't mean the self doesn't exist, but that it exists in a more dynamic, interdependent way than we usually assume. What does this mean for dealing with attachment and suffering in daily life? Understanding dependent origination and emptiness can help you hold your experiences more lightly. When something wonderful happens, you can enjoy it fully while recognizing that it arose from conditions and will change as conditions change. When something painful happens, you can acknowledge the reality of the pain while understanding that it too arose from conditions and will transform as those conditions shift. This isn't about becoming detached or indifferent to life. Rather, it's about developing what Buddhism calls non-attachment, which is a state of engagement without grasping. You can love deeply without trying to freeze the beloved in time. You can work passionately toward your goals without being crushed if things don't turn out exactly as you planned. You can care deeply about outcomes while holding them lightly. When you're facing a major life transition, job loss, relationship changes, health challenges, the understanding of dependent origination and emptiness can provide a stable foundation. These difficult experiences are real and often painful, but they don't define you permanently. They arose from conditions, they're teaching you something, and they will transform as new conditions emerge. This wisdom also applies to positive experiences. When you achieve something you've worked hard for, when you fall in love, when you experience moments of profound joy or peace, you can appreciate these gifts fully, while understanding that they too are conditioned phenomena. This doesn't diminish their beauty or meaning, but it can help you avoid the suffering that comes from trying to grasp and hold on to experiences that are naturally flowing and changing. Perhaps most importantly, understanding dependent origination and emptiness can free you from the burden of thinking you have to be perfect or have everything figured out. You are a process, not a fixed entity. You are constantly becoming, constantly responding to new conditions, constantly having opportunities to grow and change and heal. Your mistakes don't define you permanently, and your current limitations don't determine your future possibilities. One of the most remarkable aspects of studying the Avatamsaka Sutra in our contemporary world is discovering how closely its ancient insights align with modern scientific understanding. Far from being outdated mystical thinking, the Avatamsaka vision of reality as an interconnected whole resonates powerfully with discoveries in quantum physics, ecology, systems theory, and neuroscience. In quantum mechanics, we've learned that particles don't exist as separate, independent entities until they're observed or measured. Before measurement, particles exist in what physicists call superposition, a state where they have the potential to be in multiple states simultaneously. This quantum reality suggests that the solid, separate world of our everyday experience is more like a provisional construction than an ultimate reality. Even more remarkably, quantum entanglement shows us that particles that have interacted once remain connected in ways that transcend space and time. When you change the state of one entangled particle, its partner responds instantaneously, regardless of the distance between them. This non-local connection mirrors the Avatamsaka teaching that everything in the universe is intimately connected to everything else. The physicist David Bohm, who spent years exploring the implications of quantum mechanics, proposed that reality consists of an implicate order where everything is enfolded within everything else, much like the jewels in Indra's net. He suggested that what we experience as separate objects and events are actually manifestations of this deeper, interconnected wholeness. Ecology has provided equally compelling evidence for the Avatamsaka vision of interconnectedness. The study of ecosystems reveals that every species exists in intricate webs of relationship with countless other species. The health of a forest depends not just on the trees, but on the soil microorganisms, the insects, the birds, the mammals, the fungi, the bacteria, and the complex cycles of nutrients, water, and energy that flow through the entire system. The Gaia hypothesis, proposed by scientist James Lovelock, suggests that the Earth itself functions as a single, self-regulating organism, where atmospheric composition, ocean salinity, and global temperature are maintained through the complex interactions of all living and non-living systems. This scientific vision of Earth as an integrated whole echoes the Avatamsaka understanding of the universe as a single, interconnected reality. Systems theory and complexity science have shown us how simple rules governing individual components can give rise to incredibly complex, adaptive, and intelligent collective behaviors. Flocks of birds, schools of fish, and swarms of bees demonstrate how coordinated group intelligence can emerge from individual creatures following basic relationship patterns. This mirrors the Avatamsaka teaching that wisdom and compassion naturally emerge when we understand our fundamental interconnectedness. Neuroscience has revealed that the brain itself operates as a vast network of interconnected neurons, where consciousness and cognition emerge from the dynamic patterns of relationship between billions of brain cells. There's no central controller, no separate self sitting inside your head making decisions. Instead, the sense of being a unified self emerges from the ongoing dance of neural networks that are constantly forming and dissolving in response to internal and external conditions. Research on mirror neurons has shown that our brains are naturally wired for empathy and connection. When you observe someone else's actions or emotions, specific neurons in your brain fire as if you were performing those actions or feeling those emotions yourself. This neurological basis for empathy provides a scientific foundation for the Avatamsaka teaching that the boundaries between self and other are more fluid than we usually imagine. Studies in social psychology have demonstrated how profoundly we influence each other through unconscious emotional contagion, shared neural synchronization during conversation, and the numerous ways our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are shaped by the social networks we're embedded in. We are literally co-creating each other's consciousness moment by moment through our interactions. But what does this convergence between ancient wisdom and modern science mean for you personally? First, it can provide intellectual confidence that the Avatamsaka teachings aren't just beautiful poetry, but actually describe the nature of reality as we're coming to understand it scientifically. You don't have to choose between spiritual wisdom and scientific knowledge. They're pointing toward the same fundamental truths about interconnectedness and interdependence. This scientific validation can also make the practices and perspectives of the Avatamsaka Sutra feel more accessible and relevant. When you're working on developing compassion, for example, you can know that you're not fighting against your nature, but actually aligning with how your brain is naturally wired for empathy and connection. When you're practicing mindfulness of interconnectedness, you're not engaging in wishful thinking, but training your attention to perceive the actual nature of reality. Understanding the scientific basis for interconnectedness can also help you make more conscious choices about how you live. When you truly understand that your emotional states, your thought patterns, and your behaviors are constantly influencing and being influenced by the people around you, you might choose to cultivate more positive mental states, not just for your own well-being, but for the well-being of everyone you encounter. It can also provide comfort during difficult times. When you're going through challenges, the scientific understanding of interconnectedness reminds you that you're not struggling in isolation. You're part of larger systems that are constantly working toward balance and healing. Just as ecosystems have natural resilience and the ability to recover from disturbances, you too are part of networks of support and regeneration that are always available to help you heal and grow. The integration of ancient wisdom and modern science also points toward an emerging worldview that honors both the objective insights of scientific inquiry and the subjective wisdom of contemplative practice. You don't have to compartmentalize these different ways of knowing, but can let them inform and enrich each other. In our exploration of the Avatamsaka Sutra's profound teachings on interconnectedness, we've discovered that this ancient wisdom offers exactly what many modern hearts are yearning for. In a world where loneliness, isolation, and disconnection have become widespread challenges, these teachings provide both comfort and practical guidance for living more fulfilling, compassionate lives. We've seen how the fundamental teaching of dependent origination reveals that your sense of being alone and separate is based on a misunderstanding of reality. Everything you are, everything you experience, and everything you need is already intimately connected to the vast web of existence that surrounds and supports you. You are never truly alone because you are always part of this infinite network of relationships. The beautiful metaphor of Indra's net has shown us that you are not just connected to everything else, but that you actually reflect and contain aspects of the entire universe within your own being. Your unique perspective, your individual way of experiencing life, adds something irreplaceable to the cosmic web of existence. You matter not just as a separate individual, but as an essential part of the whole. The profound teaching that one is many, many is one has revealed how your individual experiences always contain universal dimensions. Your personal struggles, joys, fears, and hopes are never yours alone, but are part of the shared human experience. This understanding can help you feel less isolated in your difficulties and more connected to the broader community of life. We've explored how the marriage of dependent origination and emptiness provides a middle way between the extremes of nihilism and attachment. Your experiences are real and meaningful, but they're also fluid and changeable. This understanding can help you hold life more lightly, engaging fully while not grasping desperately. And we've discovered how modern science is providing remarkable validation for these ancient insights, showing us that the interconnected vision of the Avatamsaka Sutra aligns beautifully with our contemporary understanding of quantum physics, ecology, neuroscience, and systems theory. But perhaps most importantly, we've seen how these teachings can provide practical comfort and guidance for the challenges you face in daily life. When you're feeling overwhelmed, remember that you're not carrying everything alone. When you're feeling insignificant, remember that your individual perspective is an irreplaceable part of the cosmic whole. When you're struggling with relationships, remember that you're all jewels in the same infinite net, reflecting and supporting each other. When you're facing major life transitions, remember that change is the natural flow of interdependent existence. Your current situation arose from conditions, and it will transform as new conditions emerge. You can work toward positive change while holding outcomes lightly, engaging passionately while not attaching desperately. These teachings invite you to begin seeing your daily life differently. Every interaction you have, every kindness you offer, every moment of awareness you cultivate ripples outward through the web of existence in ways you may never fully know. Your personal healing contributes to collective healing. Your individual growth serves the growth of the whole. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You can begin simply by paying attention to the connections that are already present. Notice how your mood affects the people around you and how their moods affect you. Observe how your food connects you to the soil, the weather, and the hands that grew and prepared it. Feel how your breath connects you to the trees and the atmosphere that sustains all life. Practice seeing the people you encounter as fellow jewels in Indra's net, each one reflecting the same universe you're part of, each one struggling and hoping and growing just like you. When someone is difficult, remember that they too are shaped by countless conditions and are doing their best to find happiness and avoid suffering. Most of all, remember that understanding interconnectedness is not just an intellectual exercise, but a living practice that can transform your experience of being alive. As you begin to see through the illusion of separation, you'll discover that you have access to sources of strength, wisdom, and love that you may never have imagined. The Avatamsaka Sutra teaches us that awakening is not about becoming someone different, but about recognizing who you already are within the infinite web of existence. You are already connected, already supported, already part of something magnificent and meaningful. The wisdom is already there, waiting to be discovered. The love is already there, waiting to be felt. The peace is already there, waiting to be recognized. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the profound teachings of the Avatamsaka Sutra. May these ancient insights bring comfort to your heart, clarity to your mind, and a deeper appreciation for the beautiful, interconnected mystery of existence that you are always and already part of. In understanding our fundamental interconnectedness, we discover that we are never alone, never separate, and never without hope. This is the gift of the Avatamsaka vision, and it is a gift that is always available to you.